I welcome everyone again to I think it's the last event of DMAP, and it's a pleasure that, and I would say it's special that pro-micron has the role to finish on one of the last days the DMAP online exhibition with the main topic of digital machining with the motto. I hope you all enjoyed being online with the DMAP. I hope we have reached your expectation. I think there were a lot of interesting speeches and valuable content, and the feedback we already got, the exhibitors from the machine tool builders, the lubricant manufacturers, tool manufacturers, but also sensor suppliers like us, is already good, and thank you for having you. Let's directly jump into the last topic, the last of 4 speeches from pro-micron side. I would like to finish the session with the topic, what are the limits of spike theory monitoring? It's a wider range topic. The main focus is monitoring, because digital machining has the purpose of monitoring and cost saving, bringing more value into the value chain by smart sensors, by intelligent and digital products. As you know, Spike is one of it, and now since we discussed in the beginning of DMAP new features like the Spike map, the digital twin, or in the second speech, how easy it is to retrofit the Spike solution to achieve in-process quality monitoring benefits. Now I would like to take out some technical facts and some economical facts to differentiate different solutions on the market, and to give you a little bit an understanding of how we see the limits and the maximum levels which we can reach. During the webinar, as usual, please mute your microphone, deactivate your camera as everyone already did. Please ask questions if required into the chat. My colleague René Kessler is also online. He will let me know later on after the session if there are specific questions. On the other hand, you still have the chance to give us a call or just send an email also directly to me, and we will get back to you with your topic. Please also notice the session will be recorded and will be available because it needs to be available, or we want to give it available as a download afterwards for them who could not join the event. What are the challenges and what's the conflict, or what's the status quo we are facing with this speech? I would say on the one hand, we have the machining end user industry. They say we have frequently complications or errors during the process, sporadic mistake or systematic mistakes, and therefore for example, over large bore diameter or surface quality problems, or that the tool broke, so the process is not stable anymore, and so on. And on the other side, we have the solutions on the market, or the market which provides solution to solve these problems. But to be honest, there are, in the digital age of where we are, or in the current situation, we have many different solutions which are available, and I would say there is a little there is a challenge for the market, for the end users, to identify the right solution for their needs, because there are so many. So that's why my challenge, or my goal for the speech, is also to find the optimal solution for the needs in serial production, which we would like to make it. With this speech, we would like to make the understanding of the position of the input which Spikes brings into monitoring. I would like to discuss a little more in detail. Which systems are available on the market? I have here pictured a typical DMG Mori machine, and I have marked with some colors the different systems, from chip detection system, from the spindle power measuring system, which is marked here at the back, or we have bearing load measuring systems, laser measuring systems, vibration measuring systems. All are placed somewhere in the machine. All want to be as close as possible to the process. And sure, Spike is also one solution, one sensor option which you can use in production, in monitoring. One key perspective, which you already know, the process, the acting point is directly at the tool. And here we already see where some of the systems, one of the sensors have their impact on. We have many systems, but I think we should evaluate these systems by different criteria. And this is, we have the technical view, and we have the economical criteria. And these criteria we would like to use later on for the different systems or different approaches to discuss the benefits and the pros and cons. Especially from a technical point of view, I would say the power of the data. So which kind of technical features does the sensor have? The accuracy, the sampling rate, the location. And these are criteria which are relevant to evaluate which fits really to my best benefit, to my need. Another criteria is how easy it is to integrate into the machine. On the other side, the economical criteria is pretty simple, but sometimes they are not really discussed, and we face the need of the market to really get high productivity and to use every second. That's why cycle time neutrality, generated benefit per sensor, and the cost saving effect are topics which can be used as criteria to select a specific sensor solution for monitoring. The agenda of that meeting, what can you expect, is listed here. I would like to introduce quickly again the Spike. What is the Spike solution? What is the uniqueness of our measuring concept? Then I would like to go into a differentiation and to an overview of systems based on the location. So we focus on the spindle monitoring purpose and the process monitoring purpose. At the end, I would discuss, or I would show you some examples according to restrictions in monitoring, which many people say when I just make an example, high sampling rate is needed to detect issues, and some systems does not have it, and it doesn't have it, or we need to implement many tool holders with Spike in production that might be too cost intensive. These are restrictions or discussion points which I would like to discuss with you later on. Let's go directly into the Spike system again. Many of you already know it. For them who don't know it, what is Spike? What is such unique? We have two measuring systems, or the sensors can be located in the spindle or from DMG Mori or Group, or on the mobile retrofittable holder. We measure the bending moment in X and Y direction. And because of this, it is possible for us to visualize or to locate the cutting force direction on each single cutting edge. You need to know we have a coordinated system on the tool holder or in the spindle, and this rotates and the acting forces can be visualized. Now, please don't mix it, or you need to differentiate it from the X and Y direction from the machine tool or from workpiece conditions. We look from the tool holder coordinates. And this is what I just said. The benefit of this is that with this functionality to measure in X and Y direction, if we have, for example, a finishing operation and a single cutting edge is acting in the process, then we can locate and visualize this force impact per single cutting edge in our patented spike polar graph. What's the benefit behind that unique measuring concept? I have here one example. Tool wear leads to bad surface quality. And the problem or the challenge in production right now is we can only detect that bad quality downstream after the process. The goal of Spike is to detect that in process. How do we do that? We visualize the bending forces or the forces acting on the tool with the Spike Polar. We call this our big data. This is the data which we generate, which we can measure. And but by visualization, it's not done yet. We want to have automation. We want to monitor these issues. That's why we calculate, we pre-calculate the data, and we create smart data so we can monitor with smart algorithms the cutting process. And sure, if we have gained this knowledge automatically, we can also have a machine reaction or, for example, machine stop or automatic tool change, or even just stream the data or the KPI value into a database to have network-based documentation. Now let's look at the two orientations from I would like to evaluate with you based on the criteria I have mentioned in the beginning, the features which we can have in monitoring for spindle monitoring and for process monitoring. Let's start with the points of spindle monitoring. Here I have prepared the benefits and the functions. In monitoring systems on the market supply chip in spindle detection, clamping force monitoring, bearing load monitoring, and process monitoring functions. Here we are spindle orientated. On the other side, when we look at the process monitoring, we have further features and different solutions on the market which want to solve these challenges or which provide these functions. There are tool breakage detection systems. There are tool wear detection systems or monitoring systems. Some systems can see the single cutting edge condition, drill run out. There are vibration systems on the market or systems that want to detect chattering or even run out errors. Let's go into more detail now into the spindle monitoring functions. The first one, as I mentioned, is the chip detection, or the problem is that there might be, during an automatic tool change, there might be a chip clamped between the flat level and the taper surface between spindle and tool holder, tool taper. And the consequence is tool offset and tilting. So directly from the beginning, we have a chip in the system, a runout mistake, which leads to bad quality. This is a problem which needs to be monitored. Another problem is that if the clamping force of the tool holder in the spindle is too low, it also leads to vibrations, higher tool wear, or even tool breakage. The process is unstable. The last point is, which is also very common, is the spindle crash. Consequences is you damage the spindle, you damage the bearings, you damage your clamping, high machine downtime, and high costs because you broke your machining concept. What is the benefit and what are the functions of Spike in Spindle? Spike in Spindle is a solution. The sensors integrated in the spindle nose. We have here a wireless data transmission. DMG Mori and Grobe are supplying that, and all four functions, chip and spindle detection, clamping force monitoring, bearing, and process monitoring, is included in one system. Let's have a review of the Grobe solution, how does the concept looks like. This is the concept which I have said, that we can, with the spike and spindle, we can detect the forces as well. Like with the spike mobile, we use KPIs to analyze them. And now the benefit is it's all included in one system and directly from the spindle. So you have it on all tools. Here we see the problem again. As you have seen, this the symmetry KPI is getting red because there is a broken cutting edge. Here you see again the features. It's time neutral, in real time, integratable into Industry 4.0 conditions, and it is in combination with the chip and spindle detection system plus, which provides the other features as well. Let's have a quick overview of other opportunities on the market. There are chip detection systems separately, so not via the spike and spindle solution. But I need to say, yes, the function of chip detection, they can provide it, but only on the flat level surface, so not on the taper. And clamping force measuring systems or bearing load measuring systems cannot provide you that benefit of chip and spindle. The other feature was here we see the comparison between the clamping force systems. Here it's possible, but it's only periodic measuring, so it's not kind of monitoring program. It's just a detection problem detection product, which also differentiates from the spike and spindle solution. There are also bearing load measuring systems on the market. They are well known and so on. But here I also would like to mention that it's only focusing on the bearing solution and cannot provide the other solutions. Process monitoring only is able to be done by the spike and spindle solution, since these other purposes, as I said, different sensor systems, different power, different orientation, and orientated on one specific purpose. The benefit is various functions are now combined in one system with the spike and spindle solution. Let's go into the process monitoring. Here we have some more topics. We have the tool breakage, we have the tool wear case to monitor. We want to monitor the condition of each single cutting edge, and we have vibrations or chattering in the program, and we have sporadic process errors. All issues which happen during the process where the industry, where the market provides solutions to solve and to face these challenges. Let's have a look into the first benefit or the first problem. It's the tool breakage. Tool breakage leads to damage on the workpiece, extra work, or even processes with the follow-up problems with the follow-up processes. I would say this is the most important benefit. And here, sure, we want to have automation. We don't want to have someone standing next to the machine. Even with small tools, sometimes the visual eye cannot detect a broken tool. What's the solution? We the approach of the system, of all systems, is: do I still have the process, or can I visualize the process? Yes or no. And here we have now the example from Spike. We have the raw data. We see the peaks in every drilling operation, and at the end it should happen here in the red area. There should be a force level, but there is none. That's why we can directly have a machine reaction or a signal to the machine. Tool is broken, so and tool is broken. So cases, benefits like tool breakage, many people think, oh, we need a full integration and so on. No, it's just simple. We need a sensor that detects yes or no and sends a signal to the machine. There are different opportunities now to do it. And I would say Spike, body acoustic, acoustic measuring systems, laser measuring systems, feeler, a feeler system, the spindle power, and other force measuring systems, they can all be used to detect that problem. There are some some force measuring systems, they are mainly used for diagnosis, so I completely I don't take them into evaluation for monitoring. But basically for this simple purpose, did the tool break or not, all systems can provide you the benefit. But by the financial or economical criteria, we need to differentiate. And just 2 weeks ago, we received a message of a customer. He said, I have this feeler system or I have a laser system. I need to measure every 6 part for process safety. So in order to check tool wear, to identify process changes. But these systems are not cycle time neutral. So I lose productivity. And even with the big tools is perfect, with the feeler, for example, but also here are limits on the small forces. A laser cannot measure everything. That's why we see a huge benefit in the Spike system, in acoustic measuring systems, or even in the spindle load system to detect it, the problem. The data output is another very important criteria, because some systems are such powerful, they give you an absolute value. Many industries require absolute value monitoring, and not only, especially for documentation, and not only like percentage or indirect results. That's why it is also something which needs to be differentiated on the requirements. Do I need absolute values, or is an index also fine? Price is here also a very interesting point. Sure, a feeler system, a laser system, or even while I have, because the spindle power measuring system is completely integrated for all processes, I would quote the price. I would list the pricing as small compared to a Spike or a body acoustic system, which has more effort, more techniques to implement, and that's why the price is also a little bit high. Let's go to the next issue. It's the tool wear. Tool wear leads to bad roughness, form errors, or even measuring errors on the surface errors on the workpiece. The goal here is as well to detect the forces, to see the process development, to see the trend analysis. And one example here, how Spike is doing it. We have the long time trend of with the KPIs, which we can calculate, for example, a basic one, the maximum bending moment, and we see that when we reach a defined level, we can have an automatic signal to the machine for automatic tool change and so on. At the same time, the feature of Spike Polar here helps again to see the tool wear or to differentiate more in detail. Here we have an example. The blue one is with a still sharp a cutting edge, and here you see the tool wear, which is already higher, and which can be also visualized then in per cutting edge with that deflection. Now let's have a view again at the criteria or the distinction of the systems. Besides the feeler system, all systems which I have placed here can detect tool wear. Again, the question is, who is cycle time neutral? A laser system is not cycle time neutral, and it's pretty interesting. Many people think they already have good monitoring systems, and the laser is, but they sometimes also forget or don't look into the benefit of having reducing that cycle time and using that time. Instead of a laser, we can produce parts. When we have an in-process cycle time neutral detection of tool wear, like for example the spindle load, the laser, the body acoustic sensor or spike can provide. The third benefit, the third feature we would like to discuss is monitoring systems that can detect the single cutting edge wear. Why is it interesting to see the single cutting edge wear? Because of two reasons. An asymmetric force load leads to a faster reach. The tool end of tool lifetime can be reached faster and unexpected, and the surface quality cannot be controlled, cannot be expected as usual, as stable as before. That's why we see a huge benefit in monitoring, especially in finishing operations, the single cutting edge. Our solution approach is by measuring the bending moment. By measuring the bending moment directly at the tool with the spike polar, we have the bending moment data to see the force load differences, and we can see the impact on each single cutting edge. We are using KPIs here, the asymmetry in KPI, to analyze the data automatically, like we have here. The asymmetry KPI directly will be detects the broken cutting edge and sends a signal to the machine with a traffic light. Which system can do that? From our point of view, only the spike system and the laser system can detect even with the finest forces, the forces on each cutting edge, or also in high roughing conditions where you have where the spike polar is then also more circle, but still we can, with the spike polar, we can analyze if there is a broken cutting edge, yes or no. That's why here we see a huge benefit and the uniqueness of systems to be cycle time neutral and as precise to detect these small forces. The fourth point is vibration, or the challenge is chattering. And chattering leads to bad surface quality, reduced productivity, shortened tool lifetime, and even damages on the tool or even on the workpiece at all. It can even affect the spindle condition. It doesn't matter if the chattering comes from the workpiece or from the tool itself. The benefit is there are different sensor solutions on the market to detect that. How do we do it with the spike system? We are not measuring chattering or frequencies directly. Since it's our sensor is a force sensor, but vibrations lead to force impacts with a specific frequency, and that's why we are using we can use also the data from spike to identify chattering, yes or no. Here we see the bending moment signal without chattering. Here we have an intense chattering situation. How can we monitor that? We calculate, or we have developed just within this quarter, we will release that KPI. It's the chatter KPI, so we can tell the machine, are we in a stable process, are we in a critical process, or are we really in a critical process, even to react into the machine and say, now here we have located chattering, or machine, please do something or change the parameters. Which systems are very good for it? Sure, acoustic measuring systems are perfect for it because they are cheap, they have the high sampling rates, they can be located in the spindle or on the workpiece, and so on. And the spindle load system can also use that because from that frequency they can also detect chatterings, or from the axis you can generate. Here you can also place sensors. With Spike, we have the benefit, I would say it's all equal, but we still have the opportunity to give out an absolute value, which is sometimes important to qualify the level of chattering which you have or not. Last point, process errors. Example here in drilling. In drilling operations, many people think there is only feed force and the torsion, but there are errors like centering errors, tool wear, clamping, chip clamping in reaming operations, for example, as well, or runout errors, drill deflection are influences which lead to bad quality, and they need to be detected. It's a very famous and well-known example here, which I show and repeat to you. In actual force and torque in the spike measuring monitoring system, we cannot detect the error of which is leading to bad quality, but in the bending moment we could monitor with alert levels if we have a drill deflection or not. And yeah, if the software detects it, there's a signal back to the machine. Activate the part sorter, for example, because here we had a chip clamping or a sporadic mistake which led to bad surface quality. How can we evaluate that? That makes it a little bit more simple. A laser system, a feeler, or the spindle load, these are systems that reach here limits, which based on the uniqueness with Spike, with the bending moment, we have here a huge impact or a huge value of having this powerful sensor to detect these issues, cycle time neutral still, and with even with absolute values, in order also to differentiate how big is the deflection. Yeah? Let's get to the really nearly last big topic, the restrictions in monitoring. Let's have a look at the clock. Yeah, we still have a little bit of time. I have summarized here some restrictions or some comments from the market to different sensor systems, also to the Spike system, which say, why are you not using that sensor? Why are you using strain gauges or Spike or these systems? They have here we reach limits. Let's discuss these topics and really discuss, is that a limit in serial monitoring, in mass production for monitoring? Let's start with the first one. High sampling rate is, from our point of view, not necessary for serial monitoring. Another one is strain gauges do not only measure big forces. They say we can only measure big forces, but it's not. We can also measure small forces. This is what I would like to show you later. Strain gauges is sure not as powerful and as precise and precise, yes, but as many people say, it's not as accurate as other systems. Sure, it's a different technology, but on our point of view, and we are happy to have received a reference from a university who is in England, who has tested Spike against the other systems to evaluate it and to qualify it for mass production. I will tell you later on a little bit more. Yeah, the visualization of single cutting edges is not only possible with big tools. Yes, it's also possible with small tools. The benefits, the case with the drilling, we have already discussed. I don't want to discuss that more in detail. Some other points, tool holder can With the spike technology, for example, we have this ring on the tool holder, and sometimes it is not good because we have interfering contours. I would like to show you later some new designs which we have done, which are possible with some tool holder specifications where we don't have interfering contours, so it's also not a limitation. My most heard excuse or limitation for mass production is I cannot mount every tool holder or replace every tool holder in my production with spike. Here, I would like to explain you again how we think spike can help. Let's go into the first point. Is there high sampling rate? Is the high sampling rate really necessary? Here we have an example between the piezo and a DMS measuring operation. And here we see now the spike polar visualized with different force points. Let's make a quick calculation. The sampling rate of DMS or the strain gauges is 2.5 kilohertz. From piezo is much higher, which is also good. If we take that by milliseconds, the piezo crystals are 8.8 times higher, which is very powerful and very good approach for also diagnosis and for the R&D area, and so where I don't need monitoring conditions. High sampling rates lead to higher noise signal, but to better frequency analysis. This is also clear. That's why the piezo crystal systems are also very powerful. You can read out a lot of information. But for this high sampling rate, you also need the wired possibility, and on the other side, the machine clock or the machine data is also just recording the data with 200 hertz. So our point is high sampling rates are for monitoring purposes in mass production, in machine connection, not always necessary. Force measurement is not depending on the sampling rate, and in monitoring we mainly even use filters and KPIs to detect issues, so to transfer the signal back to the machine is not always required. Only big forces can be measured. I just want to make this example. Some of you have seen it in the speeches before. Here we compare a new tool, a new M2.5 millimeter tool to a worn one, which is used in production and which is a production problem. So tool wear is a problem because the forces are so low they cannot be detected until now, and but they need to be detected since there needs to be currently they do a radial a manual radius correction in the machine to recut the part. With spike we can measure small forces since we have 5 different tool holder sensitivities, and these are specified according to their application or to the force level this tool holder needs to handle. And here in this case we are, for example, using an HSK 63 holder with an A sensitivity to detect the small forces in this M2.5 thread milling operation. We use the bending moment data to detect the difference between new and worn. And as you have seen in the other meetings, for process monitoring, in this case, we have combined our sensor data. We have streamed this into an existing tool scope system because this has the full machine integration already implemented. That's why we have found the combination for small force detection by spike in combination with a spindle monitoring system is a very cost-efficient retrofit solution in order to also be able to detect small forces in mass production. Now, here this example from the Queen's University in Belfast, which I have just mentioned. Thank you very much for giving this reference, for being able to communicate that in this speech. Here I would like to explain you a little bit the background. The university has a project from aerospace customers, high value and well-known companies in England are part of that project. And they have the challenge that they want to machine in order to reach a specific machine productivity or efficiency, to machine the big part from two directions with two robots. And they know, and they have done many tests, they know one spindle is influencing the other spindle when they are cutting at the same time. Currently, they can only cut separately, which leads to less productivity. With Spike, or in their trial, in their project, they have tested now the accuracy of Spike system with other systems. They qualified it, and they said, and here you can see, especially because the feed direction was interesting for them, they checked with putting a specific force level, different ones, with from low to high, compared it with some other measuring very accurate systems. And with this trial, that was a pre-trial in order to get the qualification to use the Spike system for commercial and for research applications. Thank you very much again for this approach. This is also what we are happy about, to reach your expectation, and it's pretty cool for having that approval, and that the R&D approach Spike can be used in order to create solutions in the commercial area. Some systems, or sometimes we get the feedback that even if the forces are very low or with small tools, can you still see the forces on each cutting edge? Here we have a 4mm ball and mill, pretty small, very small surface AP. And as you have seen in the aluminium operation with our bliss machining on Tuesday, you also have seen the forces have been very, very low. Still, we were able to see the two cutting edges. And in this case, it was pretty interesting. Tool wear, the goal is to monitor tool wear, or it's not to monitor tool wear, it's to monitor the dimension of the part in this die and mold area. And we could see that suddenly the bending moment was decreasing, and that's an effect we can detect. We can even see it on each cutting edge, and that's why it's a perfect tool to monitor it. Yeah, here most of you know and already use tool holders which are more on the left side, and it's an HSK 100, it's an HSK 63, or a BT solution. We all have here the standard ring on it, but step by step we are also improving the ring condition, and based on some tool holder conditions, it allows us to shrinken the ring to make it smaller, so we don't have interfering components. My favorites are the HSK 63 PG holder with a length of 100, which is very common in the mass production, and an HSK 63 with a hydraulic chuck. Yes, sure, it's a little bit longer, but also we can here now reach into deeper parts. And the assist solution, which we have also brought on the market this year, will have no interfering components. So it is possible. Let's see, let's discuss in your monitoring applications if you have enough space or if we need to design a customized solution. My last question, which we had, was I cannot put the Spike sensor technology on every holder which I have on my machine. That would cost way too much. The concept of Spike is to reach specific benefits, and let's analyze the benefits first and evaluate which sensor data is required to achieve that benefit, and then we can discuss which, from a financial point of view and from an implementation point of view, what's the most cost-efficient solution. And here I have listed 4 options. There is the option only to retrofit Spike mobile solutions, only the process who really need it, or there is an existing spindle load system already on the machine, then we can retrofit also, we can combine it with Spike mobile, or we identify there is no monitoring system on the machine. We have roughing operations that can be monitored with a spindle load system, for example, tool scope, but the finishing operations, here the tool scope also reaches some limits. Let's combine that with the Spike mobile holder. Also, the very innovative future approach is to have a Spike and spindle solution, a Spike and spindle machine, where you can also combine this with the Spike mobile holder, because Spike and spindle might have here in some applications also their limits. And sure, this is something new I have put in. If there is another sensor data stream on it, our software is able to read out machine data, to read external data, which we can combine with the Spike Force data in order to achieve specific benefits. Last but not least, I would like to finish with 2 quotes from the market. According to monitoring, the one from Mr. Beilum, the CEO of Ceratizit in Germany, from the Ceratizit group, he mentioned once to us, and especially you have seen the application example in the beginning. They also have applications, or the market has applications where the tool scope system, their in-house 4.0 solutions, reached some limits, and it's with Spike, it's a perfect combination to reach even the monitoring goal of sensitive processes. And as a machine tool builder, as a tool manufacturer, they also use the information or the Spike system to in R&D to develop their tools and to gain knowledge which they can even provide to end customers in mass production. And here I have a second example. Maybe you have already known that from the other presentations, but it is very powerful. The Bosch company also has high quality requirements in the surface treatment in their 24/7 production. Here they face smallest forces in the operations and sporadic mistakes. And with Spike and a sensor solution based on a power grip tool holder, we found we have customized a solution which is perfect for this requirement. And we are also proud of the feedback which we got from Bosch, that not only the solution itself, but also the efficient project planning from us as company pro-micron with the other partners to bring in a solution and not only one system was really emphasized by Bosch. Thank you very much here from that side. As a summary, I would like to finish that presentation. What's the conclusion from this presentation? For serial monitoring, or for monitoring in line production, we need systems with significant data. They need to be neutral to they need to be cycle time neutral, and they need to be very easy to retrofit. Spike mobile in combination with Spike and spindle or other solutions which are on the market are a good combination. They have a unique measuring concept. A large number of different benefits are unified in one system. We don't only provide the sensor, we also provide the algorithms, the smart data for automation and monitoring. It can be retrofittable or even full integratable, so monitoring on a very new level into the deepest and most difficult areas of machining. Sure, there might always be a limit, but let's discuss together and let's find out where the really limits are. And but we always need to know, retrofit a solution that really faces the benefit and which can be amortized within 12 to 18 months. Bye bye. Thank you very much.